All right, everybody, welcome back to our final session of the day and the one that I've been looking forward to the absolute most. I would love to take full credit for this. This was my idea. I came up with it, but Pontus and the rest of the folks at Global Top Round would crucify me if we did this. I completely am still stealing this session from the show that they did in Malta, where we had a whole lot of fun and we flipped the script on our publisher friends. So we've already had one talk today on how to pitch to publishers, pitch to investors. We do a whole lot of stuff around that. Now we're going to make the publishers pitch to you. So we've got 4 publishers lined up for you. They each have a limited amount of time on the clock. They're going to tell you why they are awesome and why you should totally work with them. And then at the end, we'll do some Q&A and go from there. I assure you this is great fun. Let's put them right there, make them just as nervous as they make all of you all the time, and we'll go from there.
I thought at the end we were going to make them fist fight for who's the best.
Well, I mean, we could, but then we found out Alan's got like professional training,
Right.
and we don't want to do that. All right. So first up is Patrick from PlayStack. See, I'm glad it was on your thing because I would have screwed that up and like put you in Alan's company. All right. It's all yours.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Jay. Let me just get this on full screen now. Yeah, hi everyone. My name is Patrick Johnson. I'm a discovery scout at PlayStack. And so I'm going to take hopefully less than 10 minutes now to tell you a bit about the company, our ethos, the kind of games we publish, what we do. And yeah, really looking forward to telling everyone a bit more about us. So first slide is kind of dedicated to PlayStack in a nutshell. I'm going to go over some very kind of general information quite quickly. So we are a London-based indie publisher with an international team. So as well as having our main office in Soho in London, we also have offices in Poland and Finland as well. Now, I'm going to make the same joke I always make on this slide. That picture was actually taken in London, believe it or not. I know the sun is shining and the sky is blue, which is a rarity for the UK, but that's the London-based team enjoying a nice picnic on one of our team out days. I am in the back somewhere, although I think I'm steeped in shadow, which is usually the case. But continuing on, we have 7 years of experience in both mobile and PC console. That said, since about 2021, after we published a game called Mortal Shell, we actually switched quite hard to just PC and console games, premium PC and console games. So we still do have mobile expertise, but we don't quite use it as much as we used to. We've had proven successes across multiple genre spaces, which I'll get onto in a bit when I talk a bit more about our portfolio. We have an ethos based around publishing a smaller number of quality games. So what we try to do at PlayStack is to publish between 4 or 5 games maximum per year. We don't want to be a shotgun publisher. We don't want to be picking up tons of games. We really care about the projects that we do sign. And even though internally we probably have the resources to do a pretty good job on maybe 8 or 10, we want to do a really, really fantastic job on about 4 or 5. And, that's something that we hold very dear to us. It's something that we're very passionate about. And also we're focused on long-lasting developer relationships that allow for full creative control. But I'll talk a bit more about that later on. For now, I'm just going to run through our portfolio super quick. So this is our PC console lineup since 2021. The first 6 games there are games that have all launched, and the bottom 3, the last row, those are games that are going to be coming out, quite soon. But to go through our portfolio super quickly, because I know these are all quite different projects, I'd like to explain a little bit about what connects them all together. We've got Mortal Shell, which is one of our most successful games. It's sold over 1 million units as of today. Super, super happy with it. It's a hardcore third-person action game, Souls-like. It's really cool. The Entropy Center is more of a first-person puzzle game akin to Portal. The Case of the Golden Idol, which is a fantastic game and a real fan favorite, is a great detective game playing off mechanics that are introduced in Return of the Obra Dinn. We've got Axolotl, which is a top-down roguelite, which is more similar to games like Enter the Gungeon or Nuclear Throne. We've got The Last Faith, that's a kind of 2D Metroidvania Souls-like. Probably the closest connection there between Mortal Shell and Last Faith is kind of the Souls influence. And then we have Balatro, which actually came out just today, had an absolutely amazing response. We're sitting on a 94 on OpenCritic, I think, right now. And yeah, I think last time I checked, we had about 21K CCUs. So happy. It's a fantastic game. Highly recommend, people check it out. And then our upcoming games, we've got Little Problems, which is kind of a cozy take on the detective genre. Got Abiotic Factor, which is a twist on survival crafting. So it's a survival craft game that's got a 90s PC Half-Life aesthetic, which is super cool. And we've got The Rise of the Golden Idol, which we were lucky enough to announce at the Game Awards last December, which was super, super cool. So excited to be working with those guys again on this project. But yeah, the kind of connective thread between all of these games is that we love them as games first. We really wanted to sign them because we felt really passionate about them, regardless of genre space, regardless of anything else, really. The one thing I will say, looking at our portfolio, we do tend to focus on games that are quite core. Games for enthusiasts, essentially. We're all enthusiasts internally at PlayStack. We all love games and we all love particular genres. And we really want to work with enthusiasts on enthusiast projects. So yeah, quite a core portfolio based on a lot of different genre spaces, but a couple that maybe rise to the surface there: detective, roguelite, Souls-like as well. So talking a bit more about how we focus on our developers and how we work with our developers, some nice pictures on the right there, taken at several shows, several award ceremonies where we've got to hang out with the devs that we work with, which is super important to us and always super, super cool. I love meeting the devs we work with in person, even if they live in New Zealand, which some of them do. But we are an experienced partner. We're there to give advice, but we're not there to alter the creative flow of the project. So, we love playing builds, we love giving feedback, but we work with devs that we trust and we want that trust to be mutual. We're not there to influence the game in any way on a creative level. We are there to be a partner and we are there to advise, but we're not there to change anything about the flow. As I mentioned, we're a team comprised of experts in several genre fields. I love detective games. I love RPGs. We've got people on the team who love farming sims or roguelites or, card games. So nice balanced team that's full of people who really, really love the genres that they're passionate about. We build these tight-knit relationships with our developers based on mutual trust, like I mentioned, and we're really interested in working with the same development partners across multiple projects, which we're doing right now, which is great. We're working with so many of the devs we previously worked with again on their next project. In fact, most of them, and that's not because there's anything in the contract that says they have to work with us again. We just formed a really good relationship. We loved working together, and we want to do it again. One of the things we also quite proud of is we never take the IP. The IP remains solely with the developer. I believe the wording is that the developers that we work with license the IP to us so we can help market the game, but we're really, really keen that developers hold on to their IP and hold on to their projects. So to talk a little bit more about the services that we offer kind of in more detail, I really do believe that we offer really expert, bespoke marketing. So we have a lot of stuff internalized at PlayStack. So obviously, we have an internal marketing managers who offer bespoke campaigns because every game is different and every game requires something bespoke and requires something different. We also have in-house PR, in-house trailer creation, and in-house art teams who work on art assets. What's really great about this is that our marketing budgets are quite reasonable. We get to offer so much as a service within PlayStack, and we find that that's really valuable. Trailers in particular are really great. We've won awards for trailers for Case of the Golden Idol. And yeah, I'd love for you guys to check out our trailers at some point because we're super, super proud of them. We have a really good understanding of both traditional press and influencer marketing, although as of late, we understand that influencer marketing is super, super important and something that we've really focused on. Building organic communities, building games around your game via influencer marketing, getting your game in front of the right people who are really going to champion it. What we do when when our PR guy reaches out to influencers, we really dedicate a lot of time to ensuring that every element of the campaign and every element of the outreach has a personal touch to it. We never mass send out template emails. We never mass send out keys. Even when I'm just talking to developers and I want to know more about their game, it will always be a personal message about the game itself. It takes a lot of time and a lot of effort, but it's really worth it because you really build valuable relationships and you really build a dedicated community when you do things like that. I should also mention that we have really good platform relations as well, obviously with Steam, which is kind of our main focus. We have great relationships with Sony, Microsoft, and Nintendo as well. We like to leverage their platforms, when we're doing release trailers or update trailers, and leverage their social media channels as well to really kind of blast the game when we go for a big marketing push. Here's a little bit more about some of the things we've achieved through our marketing. Some of this is a little bit of a brag, so I'm not going to try and focus on it for too long. But we've used PlayStation Blog to talk about Axolotl. We've had exclusive gameplay footage on IGN, on Sony's YouTube channels. Quite recently, most recent Next Fest, PC Gamer did a top 50 demos, and 2 of our games were in that top 50 demo list. the top 5 even. So both Abiotic Factor and Balatro were both in there. Super, super proud of this. And this kind of attention is what we really want to leverage and what we want to kind of focus the marketing around. There's Northern Line in the bottom right playing Balatro. Super happy he did. That was really good. And also just at the top there, we were lucky enough to win Excellence in Design at the IGF Awards a couple of years ago for the Case of the Golden Idol. And we went out there with the developers to accept the reward. It was really wonderful. And we got to create a lot of great marketing and a lot of great buzz kind of around that event. So I've got about a minute left, so I'm going to try and go through this quite quickly. I want to talk a little bit about some of the other services that we offer as well as marketing. We are a full services publisher, so we do offer funding for projects both up to early access and 1.0. We have reasonable external marketing budgets based on necessary spend, like I already mentioned. QA is kind of half internal, half external. So we have an internal QA manager who works in tandem with external QA, and he'll look up after the project up to a certain point. And when it comes to things like porting and localization, we do tend to outsource those. We have lots of trusted porting and localization partners that we work with. We also like to work with, if devs have people that they've worked with previously, then we like to try and facilitate that as well, because that's a relationship that's already been created. And finally, we do offer a flexible revenue share based on the game. Our revenue share isn't set in stone. We understand that some games just need marketing. Some games have almost completely, finished development, and they just need that little push at the end. So it's all about finding something that is comfortable for both parties and makes sense for both parties. And that's a super brief wrap up on who Playstack are and what we do. Thanks so much for taking the time to listen. And thank you to Jay for inviting me along to this. If you have any questions at all, just let me know. Reach out to me via email. Be more than happy to talk. Thank you.
Nicely done, Patrick. All right. Next up, we've got Alan. Oops, Dan, yeah, get your stuff ready. You're muted, Alan. You're still muted.
Right, should be able to hear me now.
Yes. All right.
Perfect. There's always one person on mute. So a quick intro from my side. I'm Alan. I am head of game scouting at Playside Studios. So bit of an insight to who Playside are. We are Australia's largest independent gaming studio. We founded back in 2012 by Jerry, who is ex-Visceral, and there were 3 other colleagues that started. So Playside actually originated with 4 people. At this moment in time, at the end of last year, I think we actually broached the 300 staff mark. So we hit a huge milestone at the company by the end of last year. We have over 60 titles that have been released kind of under original IP or whether it was work for hire. And we do a lot of, key license and, IP and, work for hire work with a lot of Hollywood studios and some big brands that people will be very aware of. So we've done a lot of, kind of going back in time, Playside did a lot on the mobile and the VR side. And then as we continued to grow, they got publicly listed. End of 2021, we kind of dipped our foot into the world of PC development with our first game, Age of Darkness, which ended up getting published by Team 17. So it's a great relationship with Meg and that lot down in Nottingham. Again, we've done some major stuff with Activision Blizzard on World of Warcraft. We do a load of stuff with Meta on their platform. And we're currently doing, some great stuff with Take-Two, one of their big brands. But the publishing side, originated back in, the middle of 2022. I myself came aboard towards the end. And since then, we have 3 announced titles that people will hopefully have heard of. We've got Dynasty of the Sands, Thrive, Heavy Lies the Crown, and our very, very recent signing of a title called Mouse. So
hey, Alan, are you sharing your presentation right now?
Yeah,
because it's not up on screen. All we see is the PPT of it.
You're not actually seeing it, so
right.
It's I'm in like full screen, so
no, we're not seeing the presentation. We're seeing the PPT of it there. We had it a minute ago.
Yeah, it's just bizarre. but it's asking me if it's to stop sharing. I think it might actually. So if I stop sharing and then I present share screen, window, share. Can you see? Can you see this now?
No, it's just the PPT.
Oh wow.
Are you sharing the window or the entire screen?
It should be the entire screen. Let me try one more time. It's bizarre because we had this working before.
Yeah, but then you stopped it.
I didn't touch anything.
Yeah, we're also seeing. Well, I think it's all on the widescreen monitor. Yeah, try it.
Does that work?
Better. Yeah. Thank you.
Oh, okay. So you can actually see this. So people can actually, I'm not just talking nonsense. So yeah, that was just what I quickly ran through, just kind of a bit of history, and then just a bit about PlaySide, and why people kind of should choose PlaySide. So we are concentrating on that core demographic. A lot of the people who work at PlaySide are those kind of core gamers. So it makes that natural sense for us. We want to work on games that we are equally passionate about, games that we would genuinely love to play within the studio. So we're just looking at those, those key demographic, the key core, that core gamer demographic, targeting genres that, make sense for us as a studio, while we're focusing on high quality production values, ideally within that AAA to AA space. Our budget ranges anywhere from $0 all the way up to kind of around $3 million, and kind of anything in between. One thing that we kind of do that kind of sets us apart a little bit is we are a developer ourselves. We've been a developer for well over a decade. We know the challenges that come along with developing a game, whether it is large or small. We've kind of been through the ringer as well. The idea is we are building long-lasting partnerships. We are really only interested in finding developers who want to work with us on that that long-term basis, because the terms that we have for kind of our opportunities is very much a partnership. It's not that typical publisher-developer relationship. We see it as a long-term partnership, and it's something that goes all the way kind of down to the grassroots of the commercials. And being a developer, we try to figure out how we can support developers across the entirety of their journey. We want to call ourselves that value add proposition where they tell us what they love doing and we take care of the rest. We want developers to be sat there on a Monday morning eagerly awaiting to turn their PC on because they're excited about the game and the project they're working on. So across the genres, we are quite agnostic across what we are actually looking for. We are just looking for great developers making great games. These are just a small handful of potential genres that we have been actively looking for, but it's not an exhaustive list. We're happy to look outside of that. It's as long as it makes sense. Our portfolio doesn't necessarily make sense from one title to the next, but as core gamers, we do naturally tend to play a multitude of different genres. So that's why we're not just kind of pigeonholing ourselves into a one or two. We want to make sure that we're kind of encompassing as many as we can. So we provide, your usual level of services as a publisher. We will happily fund projects from all the way to early access or on to kind of 1.0 and even post, through to DLC. The idea is we want to find that solution that makes a developer as comfortable as they can, so they can kind of concentrate on what they're doing. We have great, marketing and comms. There's a few slides that talk to kind of who some of those staff are a little bit later. But we do effectively present, that full publishing services, a full suite. Harley and myself, between the two of us, we hold kind of around 35 years worth of experience in the industry. And, that's not even excluding any of the other kind of people that are going to be part of the projects. So on the development side, we do provide that full development support, but we do have on the production side that will help you figure out, your entire project planning, whether you've done any planning or you've done, a full-scale planning. We've got some great people internally that will work with you on a weekly basis, chat with you about what's going on, making sure that the project is going well, provide that constant support. We do have what we call an internal consultancy. So as you're working through the projects and things come up and you want to talk to us about new game design ideas, or you're having problems on the tech side, we have the ability to just bring people from the internal studio and bring them to the conversation. It's all obviously free. It's our time is effectively free because we see you as a partner. You're part of, it's almost like an extension of the PlaySide brand. But we effectively help you figure out how to kind of get your game from where it needs to be to full release. And then on the marketing side, we have a fantastic marketing team, at PlaySide. It's ex-AAA, ex-Bethesda, 505, Sony PlayStation. We've got a great team, that have got, great relationships across the whole marketing and social side. We have people specifically designed for influencer campaigns and influencer relations. We know how, influential that's becoming within the world of gaming, and ensuring games are, called streamable. So we have effectively that full level service that, we can figure out and tailor a plan that is more suited to your game. So that's just a bit about us. We've been around for a while. And then on the marketing side, we've got some great people with, some fantastic experience. And then, from the marketing side, one big thing we'd like to have a look at is on the market analysis, with understanding, the product positioning, and then using our full creative services team, which will be available to kind of our partners to create, trailers, key artwork, whatever is needed. The goal is to figure out what you would need as to effectively bring your game to market in the best possible fashion. And a big thing that we want to help developers do is establish their brand. The game itself, we do not own the IP. The idea is the IP stays with the developer. Creative control remains with the developer. We're genuinely here to help. But one big thing that, Jerry is, very hot on is how can we help the developer build up their brand? How do we help them build their IP and hopefully turn it into what we call like a franchise? So yeah, that go-to-market, we do want to drive a lot of the awareness towards the games. We do a lot of press coverage, huge global influencer campaigns, and we do have very generous digital media. Paid digital media. So we do have a great deal to offer to the developers that are coming through. The budgets we have are very, very generous because we want to make as much noise as we can come release time. Bit of an example of what a go-to-market plan might look like. But, the key part is, we have some fantastic relationships with all the first party. I myself work with third party quite a lot as well. So we have various different avenues to kind of help explore the commercial success for games. We've got great kind of external partners to help with potential porting. If we can't do it internally, we do have a internal porting team to kind of support the titles that are coming through. Myself and Harley, we do have a lot of kind of commercial and sales experience. And that also stems into the studio as well. So we've got the ability to work with those first parties on Game Pass and PlayStation Plus and, try and find some very meaningful kind of commercial opportunities for the partners that sign on. And then just a quick overview of kind of who the three announced titles are. So we have Dynasty of the Sands, who is a studio based out in Northern Ireland. And they are building an ancient Egyptian city builder, which has got some great undertones with the Egyptian gods and how they can kind of influence the cities you build. We have Thrive, which is currently on the kind of, we extended the Steam Next Fest because it was doing so well. Zooglue, a studio out in I think it's Calgary in Canada. We're happy to work with studios worldwide. Just because we're based in Australia, it doesn't stop us from finding times that work with all developers that we're signing on with. And then last but not least, the one that has recently made a lot of noise kind of across the industry is we sign Mouse. You know, we're working with Fumi Games from out in Poland on this incredibly exciting opportunity. You know, they've had some amazing viral trailers over the past couple of months. You know, the interest in the game was incredibly high. But the services we wanted to present, or we did present to them, meant that they chose us as a potential partner. So we're super excited about that, to kind of help them kind of develop and continue on that journey, and, you know, bring their vision to life, you know, using our expertise. And there's potential things that we're going to be doing with our other brands that we have internally that can potentially cross over with this. So we really are making sure that the games that we bring in kind of do crossover as part of the PlaySide family, so to speak. And that's it. Yeah. So, and obviously my email is open after this as well. So if anyone has any questions or whatnot, and again, thanks for you know, Jay for inviting me to come and pitch for PlaySide Publishing.
Awesome. Thanks, Alan. All right. Next up, we've got Kale from Maximum Entertainment.
Hey, everyone. All right, so let's just start off with just a brief overview of what we are and what we offer as far as publishing goes. So our company is Maximum Entertainment. We are a fairly large publisher that's based globally. We are, let me open up the screen. You can just actually kind of show where some of our studios are based. Our publishing label is called Modus Games, and we have been publishing titles across our various studios in Sweden, in Hungary, in Romania. We also own a number of other publishers, including Merge, Just for Games, Maximum Games. And just recently, in the last 5 days, we've actually just announced that everything is going to be Maximum Entertainment. In the past, we had this very convoluted chart that kind of showed off our various publishing capabilities across various teams. But just going forward, it's going to be all Maximum Entertainment, which is why this might be a little bit outdated. So my apologies. All right, let's go forward. So as far as our publishing capabilities go, we are, as many other publishers have, as far as our conversations before, as far as the other publishers on this call, we are also focused on the core gamer market. So the titles that we're publishing, Super Animal Royale, Double Dragon Gaiden, Paleo Pines, Afterimage, these are all titles that we're targeting the core gamer demographic with. Across a few different SKUs, we have, you know, a battle royale game, we have a farming sim game, we have Diablo-likes like Hammerwatch 2. So we publish a fairly wide array of titles that all kind of fall under this umbrella of being premium, deep, replayable, and oftentimes with social. That is something that we try and do with most of our titles, is incorporate co-op either through our support directly. We have a number of studios, as I mentioned, and we're able to support our partners through a whole variety of services, or, you know, just supporting a publisher or a developer that already has co-op built in mind. So as far as our publishing services go, you know, we do pretty much everything in-house. That's kind of what we style ourselves as. It's kind of a one-stop shop for publishing. So obviously, you know, sales, marketing, PR, we do everything that you might expect, but we also do a few other things. So I'll get into that a little bit later. But going into the first part, dedicated sales, you know, when you're working with a publisher, it's obviously important that they understand your title, that they trust the game that you're making, and that they are able to get your game in the hands of as many partners as possible. So we can, of course, create custom store pages for you. We have a very dedicated team of people who understand how to game the system, who know how to make catchy, attention-grabbing Steam pages. We can also help you with all the various stages of lifestyle cycle management. So what you'll get from us is very transparent overviews of sales numbers over time, across platforms, across various SKUs. You'll also get potential collaborations with other game studios and other publishers. For example, for Super Animal Royale, for example, we actually did a crossover collaboration with Turnip Boy, and we'll be doing more of those in the future as well. We'll be doing things like Epic Game Bundles. We'll be doing things like Fanatical or Humble Bundles, or getting games featured on the store page. Those are all things that we're able to do as well. Just kind of going into that, we also have done Game Pass in the past. We've done PlayStation Plus, We work with Nintendo, with Sony, with other various partners to get them to feature our titles on their Let's Plays and blog posts and various other channels that they might do so on. Marketing with us, one of the things that's great about us is that we do everything in-house. So we have an in-house marketing team, not just based in the US, actually. It's based in Europe, it's based in Brazil. We have various teams who are spread across the world. And because of that, it means that we're able to handle pretty much everything in-house. We can do in-house art services, we can create quality trailers and distribute those to our various partners. We also have obviously professional marketing across social media channels, Facebook, Twitter, Discord, etc. We also collaborate with IGN and other various games media outlets to get them to feature a title or do reviews. That's something that we can do as well. Community outreach. I mean, obviously, this is super important for any title these days, is building a strong community of players, not just through, avenues like Discord and community management there, but also, of course, working with streamer partners and making sure that they're helping promote the title to their audiences as well. We have a global reach. So, as I said before, we are a fairly multinational team. But when we're promoting titles, we do that at a global scale. We typically localize in between 10 to 12 to 13 different languages, and we try and get it out there to as big an audience as possible. As far as our publishing services go, we are able to localize, as I mentioned. Typically, we do that as many languages as possible, and we can do that either in-house or with our various partners that we've used in the past. QA and playtesting, I think, is really important. So we have an in-house QA team, obviously, but also we have a fairly large playtesting group of over 2,000 people that we use to get feedback on our titles. And one thing that we really heavily value is creative freedom for our partners. So when we're working with a developer, we don't dictate development. Really what we'll do is we'll do very frequent playtests, and we'll get as much feedback as possible from our various players. And then we'll share that to our partners in a report. These reports will it will go over the feedback that we got in a very concise way so that you're not forced to read through lines and lines and lines of text trying to figure out what people are saying. Instead, we'll go over these things point by point. For example, 35% of playtesters thought that the boss was too hard because he spawned too many bats. And we'll give you some examples of what types of feedback we got there and some potential solutions. Of course, though, it's really up to you as a developer how you might handle that feedback and what you would prioritize. We are probably one of the few publishers out there that has in-house porting capabilities. So as mentioned before, we actually have a number of development studios that are spread across Europe, and we can do in-house porting for most of the games that we're publishing. Kind of depends, of course. Our partners might do it themselves, or it might be the case that we have a third party step in, but typically we're able to handle porting for all the titles that we publish. One thing that I think is also pretty cool is that we are also one of the largest physical distributors out there. Fairly globally, I would say we're probably one of the largest physical publishers of indie titles globally. I think that's fairly safe to say. So we do physical editions of Five Nights at Freddy's, Among Us, Kena, Sifu, Scorn. There's Everspace on there too. We do the physical editions of all those titles, and we are able to manufacture, distribute, handle age ratings, sales, negotiations with first parties, getting titles in the hands of both physical distributors like Walmarts and Targets and whatnot, but also online, so Amazon, etc. We're able to do all that in-house, and I think that's a really nice service that we're able to offer. So that is actually the core idea of us as a publisher. I think just kind of going over it at a broad level, we offer a full suite of publishing services, and we also offer porting support, physical edition support, and just in-house development capabilities. We also, as some of the other key points, I can't think of a title off the top of my head where we have taken the IP for the title. That is also something that we really value, that our partners continue to be able to own the game, own the concept, own the development process. So that is also something that we would keep with our partners, is we would allow them to have the IP for their games as well. In total, I would say that the types of titles that we are publishing tend to fall in the kind of AA end of the spectrum, kind of between indie and AA's, where we publish most of our titles. We try and publish across platforms, and we can also support you if it turns out that you need that support publishing a game to consoles. That's also something that we're able to handle. One thing worth noting is that our company is now Maximum Entertainment. So when you're reaching out to us, reach out to Maximum Entertainment. We have an email address. You can just go to our website, just go to maximumentertainment.com and send us a ping. I'd love to just take a look at some of the games that you're working on. So that's us. I hope that was quick. I tried to be a little bit fast there.
You did it almost in exactly 10 minutes. You're good. All right. So last but absolutely not least is my friend Ella. And you are running last, and then we're going to bring everybody back in here and ask really, really hard questions. So the floor is yours.
Okay, can you hear me all right? Can you hear me?
Yeah. We can. Oh, I forgot you have no screen. Yes, we can hear.
At the moment. Okay, cool. Right, so we're Fundamentally Games. I'm the COO. I'm one of the founders. We're a small publisher based in the UK. So what we do is we publish live ops games. And this is one of our favorite phrases, which is talking about what live ops games are to us. And essentially our goal is to get more players doing more things more often and for longer. So what we really focus on, therefore, is community. We want games that are really, truly community driven. In a dream scenario, they become a hobby. Everybody would love an evergreen game. But ultimately, what we're looking for is a game and a development team who is really driven by what your community wants from the very moment that you first, talk to your community about the game through to launch and beyond. And launch is just the beginning. So we're looking for games that have ongoing events, promotions, content and features. In a theory, there's no end to the game. Obviously, it depends on the type of game, whether these are daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly. You might have, daily events, or you might have slightly longer, larger updates that you put in, or a mixture of both. We're also obviously looking for games where players pay for what they value. And this is really important for us. We're not looking for games where we just want to get as much money out of players as possible. We really want players to pay for things they value and feel good about it, so they keep coming back to play. This can be full free to play, but it can also be pay upfront games with additional DLC. There's a lot of different ways that this can be delivered depending on the game and obviously the business model associated with it. So why do we exist? Well, even in 2021, 78% of digital games revenues were from live ops games, and that's only grown since then. On mobile, that's obviously hopefully pretty obvious, but also PC and console are moving that way, whether it's pure games as a service or pay upfront games with ongoing content. And a recent report, which I have studied intently, that came out over the last few weeks by Griffin Games Partners, says that 95% of developers are making or intend to release a live ops game. Which is really exciting for us. And it also says 88% of them have challenges about how they can do that, from the processes, the pipeline, to the skills and so on. And that's really what we're here to help with. So what sort of problems we're trying to solve? Well, a lot of the support to scale a live ops game is only available once you've demonstrated success. So we want to get involved early. We can fill the gaps in your team's skill and knowledge. We have, the specialist expertise in live ops that we've been doing for decades. That's what we bring to the team. And we also want what you want, a game that players love, which is really important. So how do we do it? Well, we have publishing, consulting, and training. So as a live ops publisher, we really do things slightly differently because we've built it from the ground up for that specific thing. So we do all the normal publishing activities, obviously distribution, we do all marketing. But even with marketing, we're very much focused on building a game up over time based on data, rather than, for example, throwing all the money in at launch. We actually run the live ops of the game, so you can focus on building content and features. And we also come in and help as much as you need it with the commercial aspects of the game. So typical things, data, retention, monetization, live service, how to actually get the operation set up, how to get the game set up, DevOps, game design, all those kind of things about, how to retain and make your players feel great about what they're doing, and then obviously monetize that on the other side of it. And we do this in various ways. So we do what I've called traditional publishing agreements, so rev shares, and we're fairly flexible on what that is per game. We can also do that on a contract basis, and we also do a lot of support with consulting and training with developers, whether that's a team wanting to train up their staff on actually how to be able to do elements of live ops, or whether it's, you need an audit on your game because the monetization isn't working, or perhaps things aren't, players aren't retaining, or you need to get better at data. Whatever those things are, we come in and help in different ways. And our kind of 3 tenets: partnership, transparency, and flexibility. Live ops games are hopefully going to run for a long time, so we're going to be working together for a long time. And because we're so hands-on, we want to have a real partnership and transparency between our team and yours. Ultimately, it's your game and your vision, and we see our job as helping you to frame that in the way to make it as accessible and successful with players as possible. That also means, as a lot of other people have said tonight, we don't obviously take IP, and we have a lot of flexibility through the various ways that we work together, whether you want kind of full publishing services through to just some one-off consultancy or support. So in terms of what happens if you engage with us for your game, well, we can do a free game review of any live ops game that's submitted, and we give you some high-level feedback on market fit, game design, monetization. If your game's too early for us to sign, then we can obviously support you with other training and support. But we like to see games and find out what's going on and see how we can help throughout your journey. So I thought I would show you a couple of games. This was our first game launched late last year, launched on PC. It's coming to consoles this year. So we signed this game when it was basically ready for launch, but with a developer who's very experienced and a fairly large team, but has no experience with live ops. And so we've been helping them to launch this effectively as a pay upfront game, and then extend it once launched with ongoing content. And then our next game, playing the same game, that's not a good start. Here we go. So I'll get one next game that's launching is called Rare Pets. It's a mobile game, free-to-play game. This is by a very experienced UK team called Dream Reality Interactive. But in this case, they haven't done free-to-play or live ops before. They're more experienced on console and PC. With this one, we got involved quite early. So we've been working with them for about a year, just over now. So what do we look for? Well, again, coming back to kind of what genres and stuff, we're pretty genre agnostic, and it doesn't have to be a live ops game from day one. But what we are looking for is games that have potential to grow long term. So we're looking for great core game mechanics. We're looking for reasons for players to come back the next day. We're looking for ability to play alone and engage with others. That's very important to be able to do both for us. That can be full multiplayer or social features. Ideally, potential for never-ending gameplay. Some games may not get there, but the fact that we can do that if the revenues and the community and so on justify it is important. And a team who really believes and wants to support the game beyond launch is really important for us. And finally, so, we do a lot of different things. Obviously, you can send us your game to have a look at, and we can do those free reviews. We also have a Discord where we talk about live ops, and you can ask us anything on there. We do a lot of free content. So we have webinars that we do once a month. We put all of those on our knowledge base. We have a financer list. We have templates and various other free kind of support. We really see, our mission is trying to help developers do live ops games and upskill and deliver successful games in whatever way we can. So we have a lot of different ways to do that, from free stuff up to full publishing. We also have our heads of terms on our website for the publishing side, just for complete transparency. And that's everything. Thanks, Jay.
Awesome. All right. So okay. Everybody's going to file back in here. All right. We have a lot of questions, but for those of you watching, you will notice from accents here, everybody's from Europe and it's late evening in Europe, and we're not going to monopolize anybody's time more than we absolutely have to. So if you have to go, bounce completely. We understand it. I'm going to start firing through these things. So from Caroline, for all publishers, what do you do to support transparency between developers and publishers in terms of contract templates online or confidentiality clauses versus NDAs or that sort of stuff? And anyone can jump in. I ain't gonna call on you.
I can just jump in quickly and say that, transparency for us is very much built in the relationship pre-signing the contract. So what we like to do is, because obviously a contract can be big and scary and have a load of weird things in it. So what we'd like to do is offer a template in advance that kind of clearly states things, and that allows the developer at that point to then get back to us and we can have an informal chat about what's on the template and what will eventually be on the contract. It's a great spot in time to say, hey, we don't like this, or we're not sure about this, so let's talk about it in an open kind of an open informal setting. We do that when we finally do actually work with our devs as well. So via Discord, we want to talk with them about everything. So nothing is done behind developers' backs. We're not signing Game Pass deals without making sure that they know first and we've got their sign off first. I know that's for transparency on a very basic level, but that's also the advantage of working with a smaller team where you know everybody and you don't have to go through multiple channels to get an answer for anything.
Yeah, I think for us, very similar in a lot of ways. I think one of the things that we do is we're very clear in our contract what our responsibility as a publisher is, as well as what the developer's responsibility is. This probably comes from having been a developer for a long time on the other side of these. But it's very much a two-way street, right? So you commit to things, we commit to things. We have it very clear over what authority we have and don't have, and then we share everything. So all of our marketing plans, marketing spend, all of those things are shared transparently in real time in live documents, and we make sure that we work very collaboratively.
We kind of even go a step further, similar to what Patrick's did, but we kind of cut out the stage of almost like a term sheet where we spent months before we even got the publishing arm up and running in getting that contract down to the point where it's got nothing in it that is outside of what you would actually expect to be in there. Our main bulk of the contract is 11 pages. We are developers ourselves. So the idea was that when we send it, nothing scary is going to pop up. It's very clear what you are going to be delivering versus what we're going to be delivering. And it's made, that kind of contract negotiations go incredibly quickly with the developers that we've signed. But we do a lot of due diligence with you beforehand as well. So we will meet a lot of the team members before you even sign the contract. So you will know exactly who your points of contacts will be. And effectively, they will talk to you themselves. So it's not coming through me. So the marketing team will tell you exactly how they're going to work. And all the approvals will go through. We are not allowed to spend a single cent or dollar or pound or yen or whatever it may be without your approval. The idea is that you're working with us as a partnership, and you don't want to be doing things that other doesn't know about. So the idea for us is, you're going to be effectively agreeing to be doing everything that we want to do. You may have plans as well that we want to hear about. It's a partnership. So for us, we want you to be giving us, that green for go. We love your idea, or actually, we're not sure if that will work. We want you to be included in what's going on.
Yep. Just kind of following up on that, I think, as everyone has said, it's very important to have everything laid out clearly in a terms document beforehand, long before you get to the point where you're at a term stage. So typically, we will also have multiple stages of term documents. I think typically any given title we're signing is going to have maybe 5 or 6 different revisions as we make sure that we're addressing all the feedback that we get from our partners. I think one other thing that's also important is just once we're in a partnership with a developer, we will have, let me see if I can share my screen real quick. We will actually have a document, a proprietary document that goes over every individual sale, every individual dollar earned, and it's a proprietary dashboard that we have that you can just use to keep track of, every dollar spent and every dollar earned. And that way you can just make sure that, when you're working with us that, nothing is going anywhere funny. That's what we have. All right.
All right, next one up. What are the red flags that a publisher sees when choosing which development team to work with or which game to publish? And vice versa, what are the red flags that devs should look for when dealing with publishers?
Boy, that's a loaded question.
Well, all right, I'll go for it. I mean, we have a policy at Fundamentally Games, which is don't work with arseholes. So I think, and that will work both ways. Ultimately, you've got to work together and you've got to like each other. And I think that comes from like the first time you communicate and you meet to every email and conversation, and that developers should feel like that as well. You've got to work, you've got to work together a long time and you've got to feel like you want to work with these people. And so I think for us, that's honestly number one above everything else. I think there's a lot of other things. For us particularly, I think one of the things I said earlier was, that developers are looking, they want to support the game beyond launch, and they really are sort of driven to keep driving the game and growing it long term. And that can be quite difficult if you've been working on a game a long time and you're tired and so on. So, that's not a criticism, but it's just, it can be difficult to do. And that's something we need. I'll let somebody else say. I've probably got lots of other things I'll think.
Well, there's that element of trusting your gut, right? Because as you say, you're effectively going to be in bed with this person for the next decade or so. So you got to at least like what they're saying and what they're doing. And for us, it really is about, do you see yourselves working with each other long term? Are you sharing the same vision? Do you share the same passion? It comes across quite clearly when you're chatting, whether it's a dev with a publisher or publisher with a dev. Are they passionate about what they're doing? Are they, what their vision for their title? Does it align with what you want? It's okay for you to say no, and it's not uncommon for a publisher to say no, but a developer should equally be saying, actually, I don't think this is actually going to be the right sort of relationship for me. So it's just making sure you understand exactly what you want from that kind of partnership. And I think that will just raise natural flags as you're kind of chatting through the whole process anyway.
Yeah, one thing for me when I'm in terms of sort of building relationships and assessing the people is how people take feedback. And it doesn't mean you should do what we say. In fact, sometimes it's great when you push back and have other ideas, but actually knowing that you can work with someone is very much about being able to have those difficult conversations and have constructive conversations and put ideas in and discuss them and have, great fun conversations about, well, should we do this or this? But actually that is very important, and not being kind of too defensive or so on is key. I had another thought, but I'll shut up.
Yeah, I mean, I think I totally agree. I think passion is very important. And if you're having conversations with a publisher that doesn't seem excited by your game, I think that's a huge red flag. I would also say that communication is also just very important. If it's taking a publisher weeks to reply to your messages and, they're not making you the priority that you should be, I think that's also a red flag as well.
Yeah, I'll just chime in very quickly. Completely agree with what everyone has said. And I think the word again is transparency, right? If things are changing right at the end for apparently no reason during a contracting phase or during a template phase, then that's, obviously a bit of a red flag. But I think a red flag, for publishers from a development side of things is publishers coming in and, saying they've got all the answers in kind of initial meetings, or, so many times when someone might say, I know exactly how to market your game, I can come in and do it. It takes months to get a really good, proper, bespoke marketing campaign together for a project. So yeah, I think a red flag that developers have to look out for is somebody just swooping in and saying, yeah, we can do this, without having really thought about it or kind of put the work in to get there. Because every game, needs work and needs something proper when it comes to the marketing campaign.
I have one more, which is that, we obviously want to involve the community in our games, and we think it's very important that it's the audience validating what you're doing. So for us, if a developer seems nervous or, wants to keep things to themselves rather than get the community involved early, that's a bit of a red flag for us, because ultimately, whilst it's just your word your opinion that your game is good, you're on a back foot. So actually, the more you've done before we even speak to you is better. But actually just wanting to actively engage your community and get feedback and make changes based on what they want is really important.
Another easy one. What are the showstoppers during contract negotiations? I love my job.
I mean, I think that there's one part that you could probably jump to is just an attitude going into the actual negotiations themselves. You know, the idea is to find a common goal. You know, the idea is that you want to establish that partnership. So for us, like especially when we've kind of been doing our contract negotiations, is everyone going in with the mindset of, you know, we're trying to find something that's going to work for everybody. You know, it's not a case of I'm going to dig my heels in at every single point to make sure that I get everything that I want and they have to bow down to everything. You know, it's a negotiation. You know, it's the relationship, you know, between you is being established, you know, in the same way you do it in, you know, regular life. You know, you get a feel for what the person's like, how they're going to react with certain things. And then that way you just kind of find, you know, the kind of, it just naturally starts to kind of carve out that river through the stone, that you know which way that you need to be going with that kind of negotiations. So it's kind of, for me, like an attitude is a big element that's, you know, that could be potentially a showstopper for when you're doing kind of those contracts.
Yeah, I would definitely say that. And a way that I've found that's quite good to sort of apply that in practice is to separate the commercial terms from the legal terms. That, you know, ultimately the commercial terms are kind of what you want and what both sides want is something that, you know, we should be discussing together as, you know, the business is. The lawyers should be involved really for the legal terms. And, you know, it's usually much more productive to have those conversations together before you go to lawyers and make sure that you all know what you want out of it, which is what you just said now, but kind of making sure that you're in control of that and not just leaving that to a lawyer is quite important, because ultimately it's about that goodwill and showing that you want to get the same things and negotiating together on that. And then bringing the lawyer in to do the legals around that.
If you've never been involved with legal before, it's quite a minefield to understand. So there is that element of faith that you have to take in finding the right legal representation as well. That could be a big part of, you know, those negotiations. It could only be a showstopper, you know, someone you're getting to negotiate on your behalf who's not done anything remotely close to video games, trying to weigh in on a video game contract. It doesn't work.
No.
So while it's not necessary, just understanding a little bit on the legal side will massively help, you know, throughout the entirety of that kind of that stage of trying to get everything wrapped up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I guess. Oh, sorry. I would just say one real quick thing too is I suppose even if you're at the contract stage, there's still room to ask questions, to get you know, to let your feedback be known if something isn't clear to you, if it's not what you thought was originally the case as far as terms go, based on, you know, the terms agreements that you had in the past. So I think just really, even if you're at the stage where you're, you know, ready to sign a contract, you should still be willing to ask questions and, you know, give feedback at that stage, even if it is kind of later in negotiations. And, you know, a red flag, of course, might be that a publisher might not be willing to have those conversations.
All right, they have one more. Inspector Geek, I'm going to quickly answer one for y'all. Inspector Geek, the best way to make first contact is through the forms on their site. If you have a personal contact afterwards, follow up with them. But all those forms that everybody has on their site to submit stuff start you in the pipeline, and if you go around that, you can easily get lost. So I'll answer that one. Really
I don't
quick.
even mind them quickly following up by email as well.
Yeah.
Just
That part's good. Let them know it's in there.
always
But
welcome it. Yeah,
it's like I tell them, don't send them to my inbox because you're never going to get looked at by the time I get
and
through
it's
there.
my job, so they can send it to me. I got no problem with that.
Send everything to Alan. All right. Last question, and then we'll let y'all all, you know, go to bed. What do you want to see in a pitch from developers who are releasing their first title?
Reasonable scope.
Oh, that's just unrealistic.
I mean, understanding your market placement is something that is key. You know, it usually comes in the form of that kind of the kind of cross graph. It's understanding where you're going to be sitting in the market. You know, having reasonable expectations of where you're going to sit and who your market comparisons are. You know, if you're creating a brand new MOBA, maybe not use Overwatch as an example. as a competitor title. You know, it's being very reasonable in what you're trying to achieve. And, you know, the scope of the game, does it actually align with what you think is actually achievable? You know, I think that's kind of key. I think, you know,
Yeah.
I picked on that up straight away.
Yeah, one thing I don't want to out us, but one thing I will say is that most biz dev people who are taking a look at the forums are going to analyze your pitch deck within like a minute. Under a minute or so is how long it's going to take them to identify, or at least what they're going to want to do is they want to identify all the key pieces of information within a minute. So it might have taken you hours and hours and hours to build this really deep, in-depth presentation, but the first impressions are going to be very quick. So what you want to do is you want to be identifying a few things. You want the person reading your document to know your hook. You want to summarize why your game is special within a few words, or a video of gameplay, or something that just kind of helps establish why the person looking at your pitch deck should care about your game. And then also you want to make sure that you have key pieces of information, things like the funding breakdowns, where the money is going and how you need it, the development timelines, how long it's going to take you to finish your game, and then also just more of a just a overview of you as a team, how many people are working on the project, who you are, what you've done in the past. I think those are key things that you're going to want to nail quickly.
I mean, speaking, I don't know about the other guys, but I'd rather look at a very concise pitch deck that's come through that may only be 6 or 8 slides long that talk to, the key bits of information, rather than someone who has spent hours putting together a 30, 40 page deck. Because as Kale said, we're not going to look through that 40 pages straight away. We want to find out those key bits of information, and it's usually very, very beneficial within those first, half a dozen pages, have everything that you think we should know. The timeline, budget, personnel, resource, whatever it may be. It's key to have that as quickly as possible, because that is the key information that we will need.
And for you developers out there who have not had a chance to attend our pitch deck sessions on the Discord server, Omar and I are going to do one live tomorrow during the conference. And one of the first things that we're going to tell you is do not send any effing 40 slide decks into anyone. We'll fix that in the morning. In the afternoon, I believe. I think we're nearly last. But yes, we're going to be doing that live tomorrow, so we'll get a little more feedback there. Anything else anyone wants to chime in on? Any last thoughts? No, it's late.
I would say one thing is, I think most of us are looking to play something when you send us a pitch. So I think you want to make sure that you're at a stage where you can send some kind of demo. It doesn't have to be, fully featured. It can be very short. It doesn't have to include all the finalized visuals of your game or anything like that. But really, I think what any publisher is going to want to see is just some kind of representation of what they're going to be publishing. So I think it's very key that you at least show off some early representation of what the visual style of your game is, some representation of a short element of the core loop. Anything like that would be very important, and I think any publisher is going to want to see that.
I mean, Kale's right. I tell that to developers all the time. We don't need to see hours of gameplay. It shows a core loop and shows a few slides of what your target visuals are. We've been doing this long enough to be able to just marry the two and kind of overlap the two together. It's the easiest way for us to understand what are you trying to achieve.
Yeah, absolutely. We, I think the thing is we're assessing potential, not what the product is right at that moment in time. And that's a skill I think all scouts, everyone on Discovery has.
All right. And so my favorite part of these sessions, and I enjoyed this when we were all together in Malta, and I've enjoyed it again right here. This is a wonderful experiment in humanizing publishers. You're not like a bunch of faceless, evil, corporate, greedy executives sitting behind some money pile. We're all humans. And, you can see the way that we get along. We also all talk to each other, So this falls into the whole, don't burn bridges in the industry. But thank you all so much for doing this. I am going to do my absolute best to do this every time we do one of these sessions. And for those of you asking where Team 17 is, Meg had a bit of a sudden illness this morning, and so she was pinging us very early and apologizing. But do not worry, we will drag her into the podcast at soon in the. And yeah, with that, that's the end of our day one. Thank you all, Patrick, Alan, Ella, Kale. You're awesome. We love you all. And to everybody else, we will see you tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. Eastern time. And we're going to do this all over again with a whole other batch of sessions.
Amazing. Well, thanks very much for having me. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thanks for organizing
Thank you,
this.
guys.
Okay, bye.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
All right.